Good afternoon. Today's the day after Christmas, and I find myself in a hotel room with fast internet, which, if you're living full time, is somewhat of a commodity. So, I'm going to dump some videos. And today's video, or this video that I'm doing now, is about black tanks and RV toilet paper. Just some observations. One, you don't need specific RV toilet paper. And again, everything that I tell you, trust but verify. Go, okay, this bozo on the internet said this, but I need to verify it. Um, so please do that. Anything that I say, verify. But this is my experience. I've been doing this for about 6 months. So you don't need RV specific toilet paper. You just need essentially what you need is something that is septic safe. Should be fine. And when in doubt, put the toilet paper in a glass of water. See if it dissolves overnight. As long as it dissolves, you should be fine. Um, Now, I'll give it to Scott's toilet paper, which is frequently recommended as something you should use. It'll dissolve almost instantly. But a lot of the toilet paper that some RV people will um, recommend, it's just doesn't get the job done, in my opinion. To clean yourself, Scott's, for me, doesn't really work that well. For other people, it might work fine, but for me, it doesn't work that well. So I use a Cottonella. I think that's what it's called. Um, and that's thicker. It's 2-ply, but it dissolves. So it takes a little bit longer for it to dissolve, but it does dissolve. So that's what I use. As far as black tanks go, if you have no experience with black tanks in the RV world, it's not as bad as I thought. Basically, in a house, you have your bathroom, you do your business, flush it down a tube, and it's gone. You don't have to worry about it anymore. With RVs, it's more medieval in the sense that you do your business and it just falls into this tank. And this tank's treated with some enzymes and stuff, which helps it dissolve. And usually you dump the tank every couple days. Here, I'll add one thing here that I just thought about. Um, Normally, you have sensors in your RV that tells you the level of your tank, and when it's getting full, you dump it. Those sensors pretty much fail, or a common fail point. So don't rely on the sensors. What you want to do is just say, I'm going to dump, depending on your family size or whatever. How many people in the RV, you say, I'm going to dump it every couple days. Like for me, it's every 3 or 4 days. Regardless, I just dump everything. The only bad thing I've had so far is my little child decided to start throwing stuff into the black tanks. I caught him doing it, but I believe there's one remote control and possibly something else in one of the black tanks. And I notice it's not draining as well, so that's going to be probably a big problem down the road. But if you have kids in an RV, you got to expect that type of stuff. Um, Lots of water if you can. Like usually when you'll dump your black tank and then you'll put in these little packets, and they've got a bunch of fragrances and they've got some enzymes and stuff which help the waste product kind of break down better, so it'll drain into the whatever attachment you have into your sewer septic. Try to use a lot of water. Things will go better. Like usually I'll throw a packet in, then throw like a gallon of water in. And when our family does a number two, I told them, depending on how bad the number two is, hold the toilet, lever down so the water keeps going for another 15 to 30 seconds. Some people leave their black tanks open. I highly recommend you don't. I've heard that sometimes the sewer gas can come back up through the hose and into your tank and into your RV. You don't want that. Typically, a good way to go is even if you leave your gray tanks open, maybe the day before you're going to dump your black tank, shut your gray tank so the water builds up. Maybe have everybody take a shower or whatever, so there's a lot of water in there. Then you go dump your black tanks. That all goes out. Shut your black tanks and then dump your gray tank so it flushes your sewer lines and keeps them clean, which is a good strategy. One thing I've noticed is in the heat, if you live in a place where it gets really hot, those black tanks can start stinking, and if they stink enough, they can actually set off your propane detectors if they're really close, which is kind of crappy. Pardon the pun. So what you want to do is maybe in the summertime, if you notice the smell, use two of those packets and maybe up your water level. And if you're boondocking, that might be kind of tough because water is kind of your main limiting factor, but you got to balance that with what you need to do. And the last tip is have a poo stick ready. You hear these horror stories about poo pyramids, like people drain their black tanks too often so the water goes down, but the poo hasn't really dissolved, so it starts building up and builds this little pyramid. Um, you don't want to do that, but you want to keep looking down in there, maybe have a little headlamp on, look down in there if you see stuff building up. Sometimes you can take your little poo stick down in there and break up stuff and wash it off and should be good to go. Ultimately, it sounds gross, but it's not as bad as I thought. I really like stick and brick sewer where you just sit on your toilet, pull the lever, and you're done. But if you're living in an RV temporarily or full time or traveling or on vacation, you got to deal with stuff, and it's really not that bad. So those are my thoughts on RV toilet paper and black tanks. Happy RV. And hopefully I can shut this off somehow.